Anybody here seen my old friend Abraham? Can you tell me where he's gone? He freed a lot of people, but it seemed good they die young. You know, I just looked around and he's gone. Anybody here seen my old friend John? Can you tell me where he's gone? He freed a lot of people, but it seemed good they die young. I just looked around and he's gone. Anybody here seen my old friend Martin? Can you tell me where he's gone? He freed a lot of people, but it seemed good they die young. I just looked around and he's gone. Didn't you love the things that they stood for? Didn't they try to find some good for you and me? And we'll be free someday soon. He's gonna be one day. Anybody here see my old friend Bobby? Can you tell me where he's gone? I thought I saw him walking up over the hill with Abraham and Martin and John.
Hey, Dennis O'Brien, and I'm here with a group of people, and we're all a little bit teary-eyed after listening to that song. It's a great song about four great men, and one of them is somebody who we're featuring today on the show, as we do every year for the past, 10 or 15 years, Susan. We've had a tribute to Martin Luther King Jr. around the time of his holiday, which is also, sometimes it falls right in his birthday, which it does this year. Mm-hmm. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on the 15th of January in 1929, and the holiday this year is falling on the 15th of January, 2024. So we're here to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. and also to talk a little bit about something that's going to happen tomorrow in Willimantic. That's really important. Mm-hmm. And I've got a great group with me today. I've got Melanie Roberts, first time ever on Let's Talk About It. First time ever, but not on the radio. She's been on the radio before in different contexts. Mm-hmm. And she's connected to the NAACP, as Susan and I are, and also Dwight Bachman, who's been here before. And he's been with us a couple times at least to honor Martin Luther King at this time of the year. Dwight, thanks for coming in.
It's my honor, my high honor. So.
I just want to say thank both of you for being here today. It's great to have you here to talk about and celebrate the life of Martin Luther King and think about the amazing work that he was able to do based on a lot of work that happened beforehand. He organized for a long time, getting people together to get to the point where there was a group big enough to impress the President of the United States to do the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. And those are hugely important things for everybody in this country. And so he deserved amazing honor, and that's why we want to make sure people remember that when we do the show, because it's what we do here is to try and make sure people know what's going on and what happened and what we're doing in the future. So we're so very pleased that both of you are here with us today.
Yeah, this is one of our most important days of the year. I mentioned to John Tewitt this morning on WILI that we would be having our annual tribute to Martin Luther King Jr. With Melanie, and that he said, "Wow, great show." And I don't get that from John that often. John, of course, does the news on WILI in the morning, and it's great to have you two here to talk about Martin Luther King Jr. And before I go any further, I talked about a great event coming up tomorrow, and Melanie, maybe you want to tell our listeners what is going to happen.
It's a very exciting event. It's shifting the culture climate through the study of Kingian nonviolence. It starts at 1. It's from 1 to 4 at Calvary Baptist Church, 412 Valley Street, Willimantic, Connecticut. There's a keynote speaker, Dr. Dennis S. Canterbury, as well as some music by Bob Bloom. So please come out and join us. It's going to be a nice event, and I would like to see a full room.
Well, Susan and I have attended a similar event many times at Calvary Baptist Church, and it usually is packed. Okay. It is packed, and the speakers are wonderful. And I'm going to ask Dwight to talk a little bit about Dennis Canterbury.
Well, Dennis is a renowned scholar on international development. He's from Guyana. He knows his African American history. He knows his Caribbean history. He knows Martin Luther King very well. He has written a couple of books. He's just a prolific writer. He's a wonderful speaker, and he's funny. Everything goes down better over some laughter. So, yeah. But he's the keynote speaker tomorrow, and they've asked me to introduce him. So I'm going to try to be nice to him.
Well, I'm glad you're introducing him. I didn't know
nice.
That.
Very good.
That's what I'm going to try to do. And but he's I think everyone should come out and listen to this man. He just retired from Eastern after 25 years. I forgot how many years he's worked there, but all the students love him. He's an orator from way back, but his scholarship and his analysis of history, current events, politics, government, you name it, Dennis Canterbury can talk about it.
Well, Dwight, just like you, he's been a regular guest on this show. I go back a long way with Dennis Canterbury. I met him not long after he came to town.
Yeah.
And he's been here around as long as you have in terms of, at Eastern.
Yeah.
And lives in Willimantic, and he's a solid citizen, and I know I usually end up every election day at the front of the VFW campaigning, trying to get people to vote for guess who, the Democrats. And I'm always very happy to see Dennis Canterbury because he's in that voting district.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just saw him at the most recent election, and we had a nice chat. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him tomorrow. He's always got a lot of really things to say that I've never heard before.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's what he's going to do.
That's
I know.
right.
I talked to him earlier in the week. And thanks to you, Dwight. I had his office number and his home number, but I did not have his cell phone number. I was not that close to get that cell phone number, but now I have it, and Dennis can't do a thing about it. Let's change it. And so I got a hold of Dennis earlier in the week. He said he couldn't make it tonight, but he was looking forward to tomorrow and seeing us all tomorrow.
Great.
So that is great. He's just
He's a great guy.
He's a great guy, and he has a wonderful temperament, wonderful affect. He's just
Nice.
a lovable guy. That's what he
That's
is.
it.
And he's a wonderful activist. I know he's been, very, very good on civil rights issues at Eastern. And I've been to at least 2 events where he's organized a group of people with the NAACP and working to make sure the students have a good understanding as well about the civil rights movement. And organizing people throughout the state, which is so important for all of us to be part of.
Yeah, he's also served as a mentor to a group on campus called Males.
Yes, we know them.
So that's
Go ahead. Why don't you talk about Males?
Yeah, tell about
That's a great group.
It's a very, very good
well,
group.
it's
Yes.
a group of students, mostly men of color, but it's not restricted to men of color. African Americans, Latinos, whites, Asians, whoever wants to join. And MALE stands for men. Gosh.
Well, let me just say, Males, I met them when they were helping out with the garden club one day, and I was there helping with the garden club too. And they all came, and it was a wonderful, wonderful offer of help. And every so
Yeah.
often, we had one of the leaders from Males, although they claim they don't have anybody who's a direct leader in Males, but he has been on the show, and he's, I think, on the verge now of graduating from Eastern Connecticut State University. He was talking to me about going to law school. So it's
It stands for Men,
okay.
Leadership, Excellence, and Service. I'm trying to figure out what the A
What
is.
is the A, huh?
Yeah, what is the A? But anyway,
I was going to try. I was trying. Now you got most of it, so I'm not going to try anymore.
what I like
If
about
the A comes to mind, I'll
yeah,
break
it'll
in.
come to mind. What I like about the group, though, is that, you know, they hold each other to, they set a standard of behavior. There are a lot of stereotypes about African American men, and this group dispels those stereotypes and raises the bar on how people ought to look at males and how they ought to look at themselves. They come to all day long on Wednesdays, which is the day that they meet at, I think it's 3 o'clock now. They wear shirt and ties to campus, and they conduct themselves in a very elegant manner, and they're very serious about their academics, and that's what I like about them. I'm so proud of them, you know. So
Yeah, they certainly are very impressive, and I was going to point out, but you did already, that they're always very well dressed, and they look like a bunch of lawyers or a bunch of judges.
That's important.
It is important, and I know I used to. I don't dress up as much as I used to when I was a judge.
Right.
I'm still a lawyer, but I don't go to court that often anymore. I have to go to court this week though, and I'll be dressing up. I have to dig deep into my wardrobe because ever since I left the judgeship, I don't think I've bought a new suit since then, but I had enough of them.
Yeah.
Back then, and Dwight, I know you.
I got a bunch of them
You
too.
got a bunch of them too. I know you do. and fortunately, I still fit into half of them. And that's that's
impressive.
maybe 6 of them or 7. Or, I don't know, it could be more.
I'm
That's
trying
impressive.
to lose weight so I can get back into them because I like mine, you know.
Oh yeah, well you're looking great. You're looking good. You always look good, Dwight. You're looking good today with that Boston hat on. So. That's a Red Sox hat.
I picked this up at a Cumberland gas station.
It's impressive. It's bright and cheerful, and
Keeps me warm.
yeah, that's practical. It's
So I
practical.
care
Now
about-
I'm a follower of yours on Facebook, Dwight, and I noticed that you have been writing lately about hawks.
Yeah, I have a red-tailed, a couple of them, red-tailed hawks that have been visiting me. I didn't notice this until about 5 years ago. I saw them out in the trees in my backyard, and so I threw some chicken gizzards out there to them, and they came and grabbed them. And
Friends for life now.
Yeah.
yeah, now they look like eagles. They're so big.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of them. They are big, and I'm a big fan of the Philadelphia Eagles football team.
Yeah.
So I've also now taken to putting stuff on my Facebook that I have no eagles in my backyard, but there's some great. You can find it almost anywhere. You can find pictures of birds in flight, and eagles are very impressive.
Well, let me just say, the grandchildren said, You know, Grandpa's always wearing shirts with birds on them. He's a Cardinals fan and an Eagles fan.
Something
And
about
so,
birds,
Grandpa,
eh?
something.
Birds
What's
of
going
prey
on when they were
are
really little? They're like, what's going on
Birds
with
of prey
Grandpa?
are
He's
so
got those
awesome, you know, they're just,
bird shirts.
they're just awesome. You
Yeah,
know.
they are.
But going back to the events, I mean, it's wonderful that the Calvary Baptist Church is putting on this event, and it's great that Dennis Canterbury is the speaker, and we have Dwight Bachman here doing the introduction. But I did want to go into a little bit about, you know, how we're organized in the community through the NAACP, and a little bit about, you know, getting everybody together in our group, and this is one way for us to contact each other and talk about why we're members. If you'd like to go ahead and
Well,
chat about that.
I joined the NAACP. I grew up in Iowa, so I joined the NAACP way back then. I was a teenager, and as a matter of fact, they've invited me back a couple years to speak at their annual fundraiser. This was back in '86 and '96. I haven't been back there to speak at that fundraiser since, but I've been involved with the NAACP for an obvious reason. There's so much injustice in the world. And, you know, Martin Luther King, the guy just was so amazing. I mean, his March on Washington, to me, was all about reparations. Folks don't like to talk about reparations, but I think if you read that speech, his I Have a Dream speech, as a matter of fact, I think his other speech, or his letter from a Birmingham jail, was more powerful than this I Have a Dream speech. But in the I Have a Dream speech, he was talking about a blank check, and you know, how it had not been delivered to African Americans because of all the segregation, discrimination, and everything else that's still going on, I might add.
I think so.
Yep.
I think so. I think it's the focus of one of the presidential campaigns.
Yeah.
I won't say which one, but
So
could.
I've been involved with the NAACP, and I just, you know, I love what Leah has done. I mean, you can back me up, my dear, but I think this chapter of the NAACP is the fastest growing chapter in the whole state of Connecticut.
It is.
And I'm so proud of it because it reflects the alliances that Dr. King advocated. There are more white people involved in this chapter than any other chapter in the state. And the white people who are involved in the NAACP shows you their commitment to justice. And there's a lot of talk, you know, a lot of talk, yabba, yabba, yabba. God, you just get tired of hearing it. But you've got people in your chapter who are doing concrete things to advance the cause of justice, and that's what I like about your chapter.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a newer member as of maybe about 2 years. I'm more active this year than I'm going to have been in the past, but I agree with Dwight that is a reason why we need to meet and discuss some of the issues that are going on, and I want to take part of that dialogue. I think it's important for anyone that is interested in understanding the injustice in this world should be a part, so that they can have a better understanding and can appreciate it. So
I agree. I mean, the reason I'm involved is, I mean, we go back, I go back a long way, legal services, making sure people are treated properly, making sure that we don't put people out in the street, which we've been fighting against for years. In fact, during the time when Martin Luther King was out organizing, and when we had the 60s where we had President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights and the the Civil Rights Act into law. We also had a number of programs that created stability in people's lives. Yeah. We had the Aid to Families to Dependent Children, which was changed under the Clinton administration, unfortunately. We had the Housing and Urban Development Program, where they were building housing back in the day, and then Reagan stopped that. We had a number of programs. The now SNAP, before then Food Stamp Program, was created during that time period as well, to make sure that people had food, but also to make sure the farms were subsidized. And so it was really a lot of different programs that gave people a lot of support, and as they should have. We had opportunities for education for low-income people. Women on Aid to Families with Dependent Children could get 2 years of college free. We had a number of things that were all taken away and made much, much harder to accomplish after Reagan became the president. He ruined access to resources, and that had been followed all the way until Barack Obama became the president, where he started to make a little bit of an inroad with the Affordable Care Act. But guess what? The other side of the aisle, the Republicans sued 3 times, went to the Supreme Court, and stopped a lot of the supports that would have been there and made the Affordable Care Act much more affordable. But nevertheless, now under President Biden, what do we have? We have better subsidies under the Affordable Care Act. And we have some of the little language things that were tried by the Trump administration, where they tried to take away the subsidies and try and make everything, not subsidized under the Affordable Care Act. And so now President Biden is trying to fix that. So I've been analyzing the health insurance aspects of this, ERISA programs, Affordable Care Act, all these different insurance things that really make sure everybody gets access to health care, because making sure people have the access to health care is something that we're focused on in the state of Connecticut. We're doing better with making sure people have the supports, but these are the kinds of things that we need to make sure we do for people. And we need to also, I know that Dennis has been very focused on making sure we do more with education. And I'm on the education committee, so we want to try and make sure we finally got the education cost sharing grant fully subsidized as of 2026, but we need it to go a lot further in terms of making sure we do more with integration of our school systems, and make sure that people understand that this is the way to go. You have better resources, and you have more access to different types of educational opportunities when we do that. So carrying forward the vision of Martin Luther King and his work to get to the President of the United States at that time, it was phenomenal. Yeah. And then to have these different programs put together, and we're still trying to follow and go and try and move forward now and make sure people have the things they need to have a good life and to contribute to society.
Well, it's my turn now, but I'm seeing that we're getting the word is coming down from on high that it's time for our mid-show break. Okay. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, it does.
And it's time for our mid-show break, and when we come back, I'm going to take the floor and talk about my involvement in the NAACP and my history in it. And it's all been here in Willimantic, but it goes back a ways. We'll come right back, folks, and we'll be right back with Dwight Bachman, Melanie Roberts, Susan Johnson, myself, Dennis O'Brien, and Matt Rupar, talking about Martin Luther King Jr. and Martin Luther King Jr. holiday on January 15th. But most important, tomorrow, we want to make sure people are well aware of the fact that there's a really important event tomorrow at the Calvary Baptist Church. Tomorrow is the 13th of January, I believe. It is on Saturday, right?
Yes.
Somebody said to me, I think it's on Sunday.
No,
it's on Saturday. You verified that.
Yes, it's on Saturday.
It's on Saturday, so it's tomorrow at 1 p.m. at the Calvary Baptist Church. It's 412 Valley Street. It's on the south side of Valley Street. Okay, not long before you come to Stop and Shop. Okay, so we'll be right back with more talk about Martin Luther King Jr. after these messages from our wonderful sponsors.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and we're going back to talk about our involvement with the NAACP. As we left off, we were giving our little backgrounds on why we belong to the NAACP, and now, Dennis, it's your turn.
Yeah, I began with the NAACP in Willimantic because of a woman named Arlene Davis Rudd. She was here. She grew up in New Haven, African American woman, very, very, very active in the community. She and I served on a committee that was, we were an advisory committee to the redevelopment agency. And that was my first foray into local politics. And Arlene was on the committee, and she organized a chapter of the NAACP here. Unfortunately, when she left town, in fact, I received an award for something. I still have it, and from the local NAACP. And but when she left town, it sort of fell apart. And then maybe 7, 8 years ago, was it?
Something like
maybe
that.
10?
No.
Maybe not 10.
No, it's about.
Along comes Leah Rawls, and some people from Norwich. There's a Mary. Oh God. Well, I think Leah has friends in Norwich, and they were active in the Norwich NAACP, and they came up here and they organized a meeting to revive a chapter of the Willimantic or the regional. It's not just Willimantic, regional NAACP. And wow, what a job they did! They needed to get 50 members, and I don't think we ever had 50 back in the 70s or 80s when I was involved before. But it didn't take long. They did a marvelous job of organizing, and Leah, of course, was at the head of it. But she got help from, I think her mother was involved, and her sister.
Her sister
and
was
this woman named Mary from Norwich.
Right, and ran the NAACP there, and her sister has the her sister's a APRN, I believe, who does the work in there. She has a clinic in Norwich, and we've had her on the show about healthcare and the impact of the COVID on Black people and the differences in different metabolisms and things that have an impact on vitamin D and that sort of thing.
Anyway, but as Dwight and Mary have pointed out, I mean, the membership is growing constantly. Oh yeah, you go to one of their annual meetings, which we always do, and the crowd is just huge, and it's friendly, and it's diverse, and it's just a wonderful group. And I think Dwight is absolutely right on when he says it's the fastest growing chapter of the NAACP in the state. If not the whole Northeast region. I mean, it's just
great.
amazing.
No, it is.
Well, it's a wonderful thing. I think that's great, and part of it I think has to do with the fact we have 2 university systems here. Actually, 3. We have Quinebaug Valley, we have ECSU and UConn, and I think that it brings in a lot of students, a lot of people interested in civil rights and the progress of our society as a whole, and I think that's part of the reason. But I think that you got the award for this litigation that you were in with Manchester case.
It was back when we were suing Manchester for dropping out of the CDBG program, which is a program that's provided housing for lower income people.
Oh wow!
And Manchester, and our allegation was that they were violating the Fair Housing Act because there was a group of people that if they were alive today, they'd be supporting, you know who. And they were yelling and screaming about people moving up to Manchester from Hartford. They didn't want those people there, and we sued them under the Fair Housing Act, and we got a temporary injunction, but in the end we lost a 100-page decision where the judge writes all this good stuff about our claims, and then at the end we lose. But we did, we had. That's where I met Kenneth Clark. Kenneth Clark was a famous sociologist.
Yep.
He was a witness for the plaintiffs in Brown versus Board of Education.
Oh wow!
He was an expert witness for us, because fortunately for us, we were legal aid lawyers, but the Justice Department joined in on the suit, and they had the do-re-mi to hire expert witnesses. And Kenneth Clark testified.
Wow.
I had an opportunity to have lunch with Kenneth Clark. I was like overwhelmed because he was so well known. He was a real famous guy.
Yeah.
And he said, no matter what these people want, you're 8 miles from Hartford, and there's an awful lot of African American people living in Hartford. And sooner or later, no matter what these people do, there's going to be a lot of African American people living in Manchester. And you know what? It's true today. It's very, very Manchester is actually a very diverse community now. It's 60,000 people. And it's much the better for it. It's a great community now, and it all happened to that. But Kenneth Clark is. I told Leah, said someday I want to do a presentation to the group on Kenneth Clark, and I haven't done it yet. But Well, Leah is hasn't hasn't really been pushing me to do it, but I would like to do it. Kenneth Clark's wife was also a sociologist, and you can find all kinds of things if you want to on the internet about Kenneth Clark and his wife.
Oh yeah, he was a very prominent.
Very prominent.
Educator.
Really?
He was quite elderly when I met him. I think he passed away probably around 2005.
And author.
Oh, definitely author. I mean, he's just amazing, and the fact that we were able to, we lawyers who were representing, we were representing low-income people, legal aid clients, were able to meet him and work with him and have him testify. And it was hard because you're so awed by the guy. You know, he said, "I got to do my job here. I can't just sit there and go, oh, look at this guy, is so incredible." But I knew. Anyway, Kenneth Clark was one of my heroes, and every once in a while I go on the internet and read more about him because he was. I met him and had lunch with him and talked to him several times, and I was thrilled by that. But anyway, that so this chapter here in the Windham region is amazing. Got a lot of Rodney Alexander is another stalwart. He is the first vice president, I believe. Then there's also others that are superstars in the group, and it takes more. I mean, Leah's obviously she is the Arlene Davis Rudd of modern times, and she keeps the group together. But it takes a village. It takes more than it takes a lot of people.
It does.
There's a lot of good people, and when you go to the annual meetings, you see the group and the diversity of the group and the capability of the group.
Yeah, Leah, she has a way of bringing people in, and it's a unique gift that she has, and it's important in her role that she is so knowledgeable on so many areas, and that's what attracts people is the information that she provides. So.
Plus, she's charismatic.
Oh yes, she is definitely, definitely. So
no doubt about it.
It's an honor to be a part of this.
Yeah. Group. So did she recruit you in, or did you just go and?
She recruited me.
Yeah,
yeah she recruited me. Initially when I lived, because I'm from New York, I was on the NAACP chapter in New York.
Oh, that's great.
I didn't know. I've known Leah for over 20 plus years. And we just lost contact, just weren't, communicating or seeing each other. But once she got a hold of me, she didn't let me go. And
that's
she
what leaders
me.
do in
she
volunteer
does.
Organizations.
And,
I know that.
But she keeps me involved, and it's a passion. It's something that, I enjoy doing, being a part of it. So I definitely give her kudos for what she's doing and how she's holding, the group together and expanding at the same time.
Well, one great thing she did is she designated you two people to be on the show tonight. And,
yes, she did.
She picked you two out, and I
Yes,
thought
she
you
did.
two knew each other real well, and you don't.
No,
That's because the organization is so big.
It is.
It's hard
It
to know
really
everybody.
is. It really
That's right.
is. But I'm getting acclimated, so you're gonna see my face. more
Yeah,
often.
and you're an educator,
Yes, I am.
and you have met Leah in your work, right?
Yeah, we work in social work.
Yeah,
Since I moved to Connecticut, that's what I've been doing, social work.
Wonderful.
And working pretty much all of the agencies that are in Willimantic I've worked for. And then started my own agency.
And what agency is that?
It was Inspiring Independence, LLC, and we worked with individuals with traumatic brain injury in home, provided services, and it was a passion. It still is a passion to work with anybody that has needs. Presently, I'm working at Nat York Hospital Journey House with adjudicated girls as an educator. So I've got a lot of experience and background in social needs and social services.
That's wonderful. It's something that we really need. And of course, these are things that, I think that because of the limitations we've put in society on access to resources, a lot of the time that creates behavioral health issues.
Yeah.
And people don't have enough a place to live, or enough food, or the right kind of things going on for the healthcare, then it creates too much pressure, especially for little ones growing up.
Yeah.
And so we have to really be cognizant of that. Are you working in the school systems too?
Yeah, I'm an educator. We've got 8 girls presently. The facility holds up to 18, grades 9 to 12. Very challenging group, but it's a passion of mine. I feel like education is something that can't be taken from you.
You work with Project Genesis.
I used to work at Project Genesis Network.
I'm on its board of directors.
Are you?
Tell
Yeah.
the people listening about Project Genesis.
Well, it's a local organization that deals with traumatic brain injury primarily. They have education programs. They have job training programs to help people who have been injured. One through some means. I mean, there's so many different ways you can have your brain traumatized, but they take people and they literally transform their lives. And I'm so proud. And I've never seen excuse me, a group of people so dedicated and committed to making sure somebody succeeds in life. And so they're right here in this building.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are. And
Yeah.
there's a woman who I think started it.
Yeah.
She retired recently.
Yeah, she
Virginia.
did.
Virginia.
Yeah,
Virginia
Virginia. I
was
know
awesome.
Virginia. Yes.
Yeah.
She
She's
was
quite
awesome.
She
a
was
person.
awesome.
Oh yeah, and the new CEO, Kathy Rathan, has got more energy than all of us put together.
Good for her.
That's saying a lot.
That is.
This is an energetic group here.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, you
She's
need
putting
it for
our
that kind of
producer,
work
Rupert.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very difficult situation to overcome a traumatic brain injury.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Whether it's from an injury, somehow you got injured, or whether it's from, I suppose, a stroke of some sort as
Yeah,
well.
it can be acquired.
Yeah.
A question I would, I don't know if you want to do this, but what would Martin Luther King think today of what's going on? What would he do? The guy had a bone in his back, and he stood up to the president.
Yeah.
He spoke
Yes,
up.
he did.
Spoke out against the war in Vietnam, and people told him, you should stick to civil rights. It was like, who are you little Negro? Well, you don't deal with these public policy issues. You don't deal with. He didn't give a damn.
Yep.
Well, he
spoke his piece. But what would he say today about, everything that's going on? And I don't want to get into a lot of politics, but I mean, when you think about a guy who has 41 felony accounts against him, been impeached twice.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure.
We
I can't imagine. This is just me. I cannot imagine anybody supporting a guy who keeps talking about election interference when what he did before January 6th was planned election interference on January 6th and killed a bunch of people. And
Right.
it was an insurrection.
Yes.
And even Pence is calling it he said it was just a riot that got out of hand. I mean, what would Martin Luther King say about
You know what? You're
kinda
making me
stuff.
think, and one of the things I'm thinking about is we only have about a minute left,
oh, I'm
and
sorry.
and I think I'm glad you brought that
It's
up.
a great.
though.
It's a good.
You know
it's-
what?
good
You know what?
point.
You know.
You gotta come
if
back and
Martin
do a
Luther
show on
King-
that.
If Martin Luther King Jr. were still alive today, he would make a wonderful candidate for president.
Yes,
Yeah.
he
Because
would.
he had the following,
Yeah.
and he had the following because he knew the score, he knew what to say, he understood the issues, he was able to analyze them, he was able to articulate them, and he had enormous charisma. And this is somebody this is the kind of person we need today,
Yeah.
and to tell it like it is, just like you just did, Dwight. And I'm really pleased to have you and Melanie on the show with me and Susan. Our main goal, though, is to make sure people know that tomorrow
Yeah.
at the Calvary Baptist Church, 412 Valley Street, from starting at 1 p.m. There will be a tremendous event with a great speaker in Professor Dennis Canterbury. Dwight Bachman, who's here today, will have the privilege to introduce him, and I'm sure you're going to give him a great introduction. He's a good friend of yours, and you know him well. So this is Dennis O'Brien with Melanie Roberts, Dwight Bachman, Susan Johnson, Matt Rupar, saying have a great evening, and please try to make it to the Calvary Church tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m., and we'll all be there to see you there.
Hope to see you.
Hope to see you. Thank you very much, and thanks for listening.
We want to fill the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.